highlight is all it takes for the viewer to know this is a Porsche 911. And whether it's full-size car photography or model car photography, the lighting is so important. Hey, Doug Whyte from Model Car Muse. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk about photography, not just full-size car photography, but how to photograph your model and make it look amazing. And it's a cold winter day here. We're not going outside to photograph cars under some nice sunlight. So we're going to work inside, put together a makeshift studio that is incredibly inexpensive and show you some good lighting tricks. When you photograph a car outdoors, sunset, you get really nice highlights off of the sky. This highlight, to make the car look, should run the length of the car. If it doesn't and it's abbreviated, it makes the car look a little shorter and stubby. That's the sky reflection. So is this. Maybe it's been retouched, but look at that gradation. It really shows the shape of the car and it honors the stylist and the designers of the car itself. You know, when the stylist starts out, it's the first thing he draws. And Street Rodder, here's some Harry Bradley sketch pad stuff. The highlights are so important. Look how he's drawn them in. Makes the car look lighter, longer, defines the car. Think of when you've seen Chip Foose. What's the first thing he draws? Or at least what's the money shot they like to show when he's drawing a car? It's him drawing the highlight. Fitzpatrick and Kaufman, who are known for those great Pontiac illustrations, check out their highlights. They really had a balance. They made the metal look bright and glossy, still kept a rich color in the paint. Also, check out Simeon Automotive Museum's website. Michael Furman, awesome photographer. Look at how he handles highlights. That website is great for just samples of studio photography and what looks good on a car. This is studio work. These were lit inside with what in the old days they called tent lighting, which was just a big white scrim of soft light that imitated the sky and just gave you a nice defined shape for the car. That's where you start. And then from there, you start to tweak the details. So now I'll take you through the process of getting set up, doing a really cool shot of your model. All right, the first thing you're going to need is a table. Nice and clean, make sure it's level. Go out to your crafts store and pick up some paper that you can use as a backdrop surface. You know, you could use a sheet or some kind of material, lay it out, but the key thing is if it's flexible, you're going to be able to sweep it up in the back and then have a background if you're shooting into your model this way. So you're going to lay this down, you're going to tape down this end, and then what you can do from the back, stack up, you can just, model boxes are great for this because, you know, you got plenty, right? Don't use blue tape or green tape. It might reflect into your model. As good as white tape is, use some clear tape. Look at that, it's like it disappears. I'm getting rid of this. All right, before even setting up the light, I set up on a neutral surface. It's a good place to start. You can certainly go to different colors if you want. But just to learn how it all works and how the reflections are, start with a neutral surface. Neutral even being white. Watch the side of the car when this goes underneath. It's not great light because it's bouncing up. It's adequate and certainly helps show the detail. So working on a white surface is fine. Black surface certainly makes the colors look rich in tone down there. If you have a white car, it's often a good way to go. But it's not going to help you lighting your chrome necessarily. Other colors, you can see what the different colors do. They all have an effect and it's really subtle. Pebble Beach, they park the cars on a lawn. All that green light reflects up into those amazing Ferraris and Bugattis. Let's just start simple neutral, just for what we're doing today. You can have some LED lighting. This is marketed as a grow light. Anything you can find that's LED is a good way to go. Your digital camera will color balance itself to that light really well. Try and use, in essence, one light source. I have two here. Color balance of both these bulbs is the same. If you start using different brands of lights, you may have a different color source, which may throw off what's going on. This has a clamp. Yeah, get some light over the car. But it's kind of snarky and bright. Bright highlights doesn't show the detail necessarily the way the stylist would want to see it. So we want to take this light, it's being cast down, and diffuse it almost like sky. So it starts to draw highlights main lights. Everything starts to look smooth, shows the chrome really well, but still gives us some clarity and richness in the paint surface. So normally what I use in my studio when I'm taking pictures is what's called a softbox bank light. Depending on what coast you live on, it's got a different name. But basically it diffuses light. Look at the highlight that runs the length of the car. Really makes, this caddy just look longer and lower. And the guys that styled this car would just love that. I mean, that's what it was all about. But what you're not quite seeing yet is all the fine tuning that we can do on top of that. So this is what I normally use. Let's build a really super inexpensive diffusion. All right, so I went down to my local recycling center, which we affectionately call the dump. I went looking for a screen frame, like the kind you'd have on an outside window, pop out the screen, and this would be the frame for our diffusion material. I didn't find one, but what I did find was a bulletin board. This will be perfect. For diffusion material, you can use tracing paper. You can actually just go online and buy material that's made for diffusing lighting, and it's a lot like tracing paper. But, you can just use a shower curtain. It's translucent, you can lay it over, and you can tape this down the frame. It's a double stick tape. You can probably use carpet tape. So I do it. Burnish it down really well, get it to stick to that old wood. Capital Motor Oil trash can, it's my favorite. You want to get this taut on there. Yep, we're going to get the other two sides, that way we don't have a lot of interference. All four rails all tacky and sticky at once, making it really tough to deal with. And the last little bit, material secured to the frame. All right, that's some diffusion. So here we have our hot point source light that's really not showing all the subtle shapes down there and showing the chrome. Now this is probably, this is a little bigger than what we need, but can't beat the price. Okay, so there we are. When we slide this in between, we instantly have some really nice light. I'm not going to stand here and hold this, and no one else is either. We're going to make some legs for this so this can sit on the set on its own. So probably the most expensive part of this whole project was going to the hardware store and getting some threaded rod and some wing nuts. Alright, so for safety, I've got the model off the set. Clip this right up here. That looks pretty good. I have this raked a little higher in the back, a little lower in the front. I'm just thinking I want to kick some light in there. Now, look at the position, way too far forward. They're not getting enough front light, but you just want to make sure you back it up enough, get it in there, so you've got light in front of the car. What's going on here is the pool of light is a lot more intense here. It's trailing off in the corners and along this front edge. And that gives a gradation down here. So if you want your edges to be sharper, you're going to bring the lights away so it lights more evenly, or bring in more lights. You could probably spread these apart a bit. I want to get a little bit of gradation so it shows the roll in the metal. So what's missing? The one thing we haven't done is set up the camera. which you should have on a tripod just to lock it down and be consistent. The reason to wait and not set it up too early is you could knock it over while you're setting up your lighting, putting your car in or cleaning your car or whatever you're doing. So when you go to set up the camera, no matter what you've got, camera-wise, always set up your tripod with this front leg forward, because that's where your lens is. If someone knocks it over, it's only going to go that way, which means you may not damage your lens. If you don't have that there, lens is this way, that's the first thing that's going to contact the ground. So we're ready to go and really fine-tune the lighting now. I'm going to dim the lights in the room, so we just have this. We don't have interference from any of the other room lights. So the first thing you need to be aware of is the reason why we have a sweep. So we have a little control in the background. You want it to separate from the background tone-wise, light or dark. You can bring that forward, making it either lighter or darker, or bringing it back, or pulling it tighter. You just pick whatever you want, then you can slide your kit boxes in there to hold it up. As nice as this lighting is, I'm going to show you a way to take it to another level. We're going to go get the magic ingredients. Alright, so you have a main light set up overhead. You're going to want to start to fill the sides, and rather than bring in more bulbs, you're going to use some fill cards. And what you need for that is stuff that you're going to use to cast light in there. This is just a simple white card, but what I really recommend is getting something like a silver card. Not super shiny, something that's a lot like aluminum foil, maybe the dull side. Taking a piece of cardboard, wrapping some foil around it. It might be wrinkly, might give you a really kind of funky looking highlight, but I'm going to suggest going out and buying a new card. You want to keep on hand some really mirror bright ones, just for little bits like chrome grills and that kind of thing, because you really want the side of the car to be elegantly lit, show the shape, but you want that grill, especially on a caddy like this, to have some punch. If you have some black cardboard, you might want to slide this in a couple spots to give you just a dark area in your chrome or in the body, or if you're getting reflection off of a bright surface, you might want to slide that in just to take some light out, because you always want the car to look light and airy on the top, a little heavier on the bottom, gives it some weight. I always start with the side because that's really key. When this card goes in, you can see what it does. It brings just a little openness to the paint in the side of the car and the chrome. So as you turn it on this axis, you can see the effect it has. It runs the length of the car. You don't want to blow out the side of the car. You don't want to make it too bright. And then also laying it back or standing it up will give you a different effect. The closer you get, the more you'll fill in the bottom. Angle of incidence of it coming down equals the angle of reflectance. I need something to hold this card up. This is just white paper tape. I'll lay it up and over, stick it to itself. I'm going to make a tail out of this tape. So it just becomes the tail. There's about an inch of stickiness left. I'm going to attach it to the bottom of the card. I'm going to set it up like this on the set so I can lean it back and forth. To hold it up, I'm going to take a bottle of sriracha because it's good and stable stuff. Put that in, and that's going to hold the card up. So to fine tune this, I'm going to get down in here. All right, so the card's in position. Tilting it this way, tilting it this way, to get just the detail just the way you want it. If you look at this, the tail is lit, just very subtle light. Light's getting cast into most of the chrome, and it's looking really good. I could possibly put another card in for that little tail section of the back bumper. I'd fine tune that later. But the really cool thing that's happening, if you look at this fold that's just outside that trails back from the headlight across the fender, that horizontal line, it's lit really well now. It really stands out, not too much, just enough that you know it's there. It's not lost. And that's why we're doing this. So we've got the main side light in. Now it's time to work on one of the most important parts of this car, and that's the grille. You always want something that's a little bigger than the car itself. Because remember, a lot of these shapes wrap around, and you want to get all the way around the curves on the edges. All right, so I'm armed with some different cards. I have this soft silver. I also have this mirror silver. Still not sure which is going to work out best for this, but I know I want that grill to be bright. So I'm going to get down at the camera angle and start laying this in. And I want to tip this back end in so it's in there tight enough. I'm catching light on the far headlight. So you can see what that's doing. It's reflecting into the paint as well. So I got to fight the bright chrome, still keep some color in the paint. I don't want to wash that out too much. Then I'm going to try some mirror. Wow, it just plows light in there. And as I turn it this way and this way, you know, you can curve the card as well. I'm looking in the windshield. Am I getting a highlight in there that I don't want? It's lighting up the cowl, the wiper blades, the chrome up there is looking good. You just got to find the spot where it's just right. Look how bright the headlights are. I mean, normally I'd go for the dull silver on the chrome and keep in the paint. I think I'm going for the bright stuff. The headlights really need it. So I could get a tape tail and put it on the bottom. I think I'm just going for a can of diced tomatoes and some cream of mushroom soup. You don't want this card to roll back too much. You know, the character of the card, sometimes you want it super flat, sometimes you want a little roll to it. There's no one light setup that's going to work for every car. And that's the fun of it. You know, it's like doing an illustration. All right, 2 things I could fine tune and still work on. If you look at the back bumper, the side of that, it's a little gray. You might want that to stand out a little more. Also, the far end of the bumper, the horizontal part, it's pointing up. You know, it's a piece of chrome metal that leans back. That means it's reflecting right over there. See my hand? We got 2 more cards I want to put in just to fine tune. Don't get real smart and use things like flammable objects like spray cans, which are really great for holding things up, but just don't have flammable stuff in your set. This is bright yellow and probably reflects, but I'm going to cover it with this card. And I'm looking for that spot on that bumper. Yeah, it's in there. It's bright. It's on the far end. See how white it is? Might just want to put a little tone into that. The more you slide it in, the better it looks. But 2 things happen there. It's in the frame, and you also see it in the windshield. So I'm just going to slide that out. We've got that lit. So 1 more card. Looking for that spot on that rear bumper. Just leaning it up against the back post. Yeah, but you know what else I'm finding? So I'm putting this in. You can see on the side of the trunk lid how well defined it is now. When I take that out, that blends right in with the fin. Just a little bit of tone. All right, so trying to fix the bumper and get that chrome to work, I discovered that I can make a nice highlight on the trunk. That's the fun stuff is in doing this. Handy spring, and use that to hold up this card. The idea is to find out where that point of reflection is based on where the camera's sitting. And boy, I found it. It's like really bright. It also reflects into the paint, which I think looks pretty nasty. It's not a real good spot for that. Put the one that's lighting our trunk in there a little bit more. See if we can use that to do the bumper at the same time. Yeah, okay, that's a little harsh, it's a little bright. Just gonna back it off a little bit. All right, so that's looking really nice. You know, just like building a model, taking a photograph of it, you kind of get to a point where you go, am I done? I mean, you just know when it's right. I think it shows the car well, especially for the period. We've been recording continuously with this camera, so you can see the effect of the lighting changes. But this is the point where you would take your still photo. I think it looks really cool. I hope this has inspired you to spend some more time with your models and do some great lighting. This is one of the fun parts of modeling. Get it set up, take some time, learn how light works. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Follow your muse wherever you may find it, and may there always be a project on your bench. Thanks for watching. Right, so now we're going to use some more old tape.
You want me to get some tape from the garage?
That's older tape.
Oh.